Let's talk about Nest.js, a progressive Node.js framework for building efficient, reliable, and scalable server-side applications. Nest is built on the top of Express.js. It is fully completely written in Typescript. The structure is familiar with Angular. You can see the controller, the module, and the service, and the main.ts file. That's why Nest is very popular in the Node.js community. You can check the GitHub stars for the Nest.js. You can see that 20,000, it's going to be 20,000. So it's a framework for building efficient, scalable Node.js server-side applications. You can build REST APIs, you can build GraphQL APIs, you can build microservices with Nest.js. It fully supports TypeScript because it is written on the top of Typescript. So you can use ES6, ES7 or ES8 feature with the help of TypeScript. It's completely written on the Express.js. If you are familiar with Fastify.js, Fastify is another framework in Node.js. You can also use that with Nest.js. Now we are going to create our first Nest.js application. First of all, you have to install the Nest.js CLI. If you are using Mac, you need to install sudo. You need to add sudo keyword before npm. I'm gonna install Nest.js CLI globally on my machine. I have already installed Nest on my machine. You can verify the Nest version by executing this command. I have 6.6.4. Let's create a new project, Nest new. I'm gonna provide the name of the project. You can choose anything. You can choose any name. Which package manager would you like to use? I'm gonna use npm. It is going to install some dependencies. Nest project is created successfully. I'm going to navigate to the Nest demo, the name of the project. I'm going to start the application. First of all, let me review the code. I'm going to open my source code into my code editor. Let's review the source files. You can see the controller spec file. You will define all the routes here. We have the entry module, which is the root module, similar to Angular. We have a service. We have a entry file. Here you are going to create the root module, and app will listen on port 3000. You can also check some test specification. You don't need to put configuration for testing. They have already configured that. You can use prettier. It is the Nest CLI JSON file. You can see the TypeScript configuration, tslint. So now we're gonna run the project. npm run start. If you are using in development mode, they have also added the hot reloading. So let's run the project by using the npm start dev. I'm gonna run the project in development mode, so you can edit the application. It has created the dist folder. You can see that. They have compiled the TypeScript into JavaScript. Starting the Nest application, app module dependencies initialized. So everything is good to go. Now it's time to test that. I'm going to go to the localhost colon 3000, you can see the hello world. Let's try to change something from the controller. I'm gonna open that. It is going to return the hello world from this app service. I'm gonna open this app service, get hello world. You can change the text. Welcome to Nest.js. It has automatically started that because we ran the application by using this script startf. I'm going to restart the application, refresh the browser. You can see the welcome to Nest.js. In the next video, we're going to talk more about controllers. Now we're going to create our first controller. I'm going to use Nest CLI. I have to execute this command nest g, or you can use generate. I'm going to use the short form g, and controller. I need to define the name of the controller. I'm going to use the products. Now you can see that we have the products folder, and inside the products folder we have products controller and the spec file. And you can see these changes. It has also added the entry inside the app module. You can see that we have controllers array. You must need to specify the products controller here. Let's say you are building the API for the products endpoint. I'm going to define the find all method. Let's say it is going to return the string. I'm going to start the project. For testing purpose, to test the REST API, I'm going to use an application. This is the desktop application. You have to download it, the Postman. I'm going to use this Postman app for testing the API. I have already downloaded the Postman. You can find that. So it's time to send request to this API. Localhost colon 3000/products. Oops, there is nothing here, not found. 404 means this route does not exist. So we need to define the route by using the getter. This is the decorator. You can also define the path here. Now it's time to send the request. My application has started. Now you can see that find all. I did not define this /products here. This is the base path for this controller. If you want to add more route here, let's say find product /all. I'm going to send the request to the /products. There is no route /products, but I've changed the route /all. Now you got the find all. So this will specify the route, and this is the route handler. Route handler method decorator routes HTTP GET request to the specified path. For that, I'm going to remove that. Let's try to keep with find all. Now we're going to talk about request object. If you have worked with Express.js, you can access the request object. But Nest.js is built on the top of Express.js, so it also allows you to access the request object. There is a decorator request. So I'm going to use the request object. We also need to import the request from the Express package. Cool. Now you can access the request object. It's giving me the TS-lint warning, I think, but forget about that. Find all. I got the request. Here you can see the route. The path is /products. The method is get. But there is nothing here inside the body. So body is empty. You can check the headers, stuff like that. You can also access the response. I need to get the response decorator. We also need to get the response from the express package. You can set the response manually if you want to do that. Let's say I'm going to send the JSON. Find all. It is giving me the warning message. Response type is not assignable to string, so I'm going to use the any here, any type. Awesome, I got the find all. Let me check the log. I got the request. So here is the documentation for the request object. This denotes the express request object. You can access the express request object in Nest.js by using this decorator. You can also access the response. You can also access the next method. This is the middleware. You can also access the session. In Express, you access the session by using this one, request.session. You get the request params in Express by using this property, request.params. But if you want to access these params in Nest.js, you can do that by using the decorator. You can also follow the same convention in the next to access the request body. They created the decorator to access the body. You can access the query and the headers. Let's say I would like to access the query. Let's try to do that. I need to import the query. Let's say query. It should be. I have imported the query. So you can access the query object. So this query interface, this query decorator is used to extract the query object from the request object. Extract the query property from the request object. I'm going to try to log the query. Let's say I've set the parameters, limit parameter in the query object. Now you can see that limit is 31. I got that. Now the limit is 10. So query object is working fine. Let's say per page. You can also get the per page and the limit. So you can access the request object by using the request decorator. You can access the response object by using the response decorator. You can extract the query property from the request object by using this query decorator. Similarly, they created the decorator for the body and the params. So far, we have created the get endpoint. Now I'm going to show you how to create the post endpoint. I need to get the post decorator. I've already imported the post decorator. Let's define the name of the method. Let's say it is going to return the string new product endpoint. Let me start the application. The application is running. So I'm going to send the post request, a new product endpoint. You can see that it looks good. Similarly, you can create the endpoint for the update. We need to get the put verb, HTTP verb. I'm going to say update The type is string. It should be update all or something like that. I'm also going to define the delete. Delete endpoint. We also need the get or find one. This time I need to get the ID. I'm going to change from update to find one. Find one endpoint. So I'm going to try to test that. Let's try to test the update. Update is working. Let's try to test the delete. Delete is also working. Let's try to test the find one. Find one endpoint is also working. You can also define the route only based on route wildcards. You can define regular expression here. Say pattern, whatever you want to say. You can choose any name. We got the find on one. Let's say I'm gonna follow this pattern abc underscore cd, but it is still returning the find one. I have provided the correct pattern, but we need to change the order because order does matter in Express.js. Now I can get the pattern matched. Awesome. Pattern matched. Find one will also works. Cool. So this is how you will define the resources in Nest.js. I'll teach you more about how to get the params in the request body. Let's talk more about controllers. If you want to set the status code manually, you can also do that. You can use the HTTP code decorator. Here, let's say I'm gonna set the status code 204. Nest also provide the header decorator. You can also set the header manually. Let's try to run the project. So I'm gonna send the post request. Now you can see that the status code 204. You can also check the headers. Here we have the header. Let's say I'm gonna change that to this one. Let's try to send the request again. Now you can see that this is the new value of the header. You can also use the redirect decorator if you want to redirect to another page. I'm getting the version inside the query. If version is 5, then redirect to this one. So I'm going to access the docs route /docs. I have to access it from the browser. Now you can see that it has successfully redirected. Let's say if I will provide the version equals to 5. Now I got this different page. Now I got the exact documentation page. This is the main page and this is the documentation page. So redirect is also working fine. This is how you will get the route parameters. You can use the param decorator. You can get all the params here. So I'm gonna send the request from the postman. Let's say we need to send the get request ID, which is 1. Now you can see that ID 1. Now you will see the ID 2 because I'm returning the params. Under the hood, Nest.js will convert this stream, convert it into promise. They are using the JSON data here. They have added the middleware automatically. We don't need to parse the request body. They are already doing that. So in the next video, I'll show you how to build the complete controller. Now it's time to build the CRUD functionality. We're gonna create endpoints to create product, update product, delete product, and find all products. But in the previous section, we just created the routes. In this module, I'm gonna teach you how to create routes, and we're gonna use an array data. I'll teach you how to connect with MongoDB or MySQL database. For now, I'm gonna show you how to connect with arrays. Let's say I would like to create a new product. We need to send the post request. The URL should be /products. And I have selected the body. You can select the raw, and here you can select the JSON application. A new product has created. You can see that ID, which is 3. Let's say I'm gonna create another product with ID 1. You can see that another product has created. Let's create another product with ID 2. Another product is created. If you want to find all the products, you can do that. I got all the products. You can see that 1, 2, and the 3. You can also find the product only based on ID. Awesome, I got this one, the first product. If you would like to delete that, you can also do that. You can see that product with ID 1 is no longer exist in the array. So our goal is to implement these CRUD functionalities. Let's start building the CRUD functionality. First of all, I'm going to build a product module. In Nest.js application, you will have a root module, which is application module. You can see that we have the application module. This is our main module, application module. So you can divide your Nest application into multiple modules. Similarly, in this way, we can have user module, orders module, chat module, and similarly, you can have further feature modules. In our application, I'm going to create a new separate module for the products, and each module can have these controllers, providers, and imports. You can use Nest G module, or you can use M. Let's say I'm going to use module, the name of the module, which is products. Awesome, a product module has created. Now you can see that we have products module. Instead of importing controllers, product controller inside the app module, we need to replace into our products module. So I'm going to delete that from this app module. Let me remove the products controller. I need to have controllers array. it should be products controller. Cool. App module is using the products module because it has imported successfully. You can also import multiple modules here. So we have app controller, we have app service. Let's try to test the application. So my application is running. We have a couple of endpoints in the products controller. I'm going to send request to this endpoint /products. I think it looks good, but I don't need this header and the HTTP code. I'm going to remove that. I'm also going to delete this route. That looks good. Make sure I run the application in the development mode. Let's try to send the request. Cool. A new product action is working now. So it's time to create the product service. If you have worked with Angular, we will define all the controller logic inside the service. No, it's not an ng, nest generate service, the name of the service, which is products. Awesome, I got the product service. You can see that it has automatically it has automatically added the entry inside the providers. So in this way, you can use the product service in your controller. So I'm going to define the create. Here you will write your database logic here, or your array logic, something like that inside here, your persistent logic here, your DB logic here. So you can see that it is injectable. They created the injectable decorator. It means you can inject it as a dependency. I'll teach you more about the dependency injection later. Let's say it is going to take the product or something like that. Let's say it is going to take the product and it should return the array of the products. So we did not define the array. I'm going to define array here, products. It should return array, but I'm not defining right now. Let's say it is going to return the products. Cool. Make sure I need to return that. Cool. So how can I use this product service inside the products controller? We need to inject it as a dependency. To inject the dependency, we need a constructor function. I'm going to write the name, which is product service. Let's say I need to import the product service. Cool. That's all you need to do. Now I can use this method, this dot product service. It is going to expect the product. So let's say I want to provide ID, which is 1, name, which is MacBook Pro, QTY1, and you can also provide the price. and you have to return that. I need to use this method create. I'm using this string, so get rid of this one. Let's start the application in development mode. Awesome, I got the empty array. If you will return the product, you will get your exact same product. Awesome, I got the same exact product. No, I got this product, this one. Let's say if I want to add into the array, you can also do that. Let's say this dot products dot push. I'm going to push the product and return the products array. Now I got a new product. Let's say I'm going to click it again. I got 2 products. So we successfully created this service. We injected the service as a dependency injection because it has written the injectable decorator that marks class as a provider. So provides can be injected into other classes via constructor parameter. When injector provide, it must be visible in the module scope, blah blah blah. You can read this definition. So in the next video, we will refactor our this product service dot create method. I'll show you how to get the data from the request body, because we need to get the data from our request body. In the next video, I'll show you how can you do that. In this video, I'm gonna show you how to get the request payload. So we need to get the request body. Edit! So we need to get the product from the request body. Nest.js provide the body decorator. I'm gonna call that. It should be product. Now the important stuff is here. The type should be create product DTO. What is that? It should be class. So we need a data transfer object. In Nest.js, they have created the concept, the data transfer object. Data transfer object means it's an object that defines how the data will be sent over the network. So we can define the DTO using classes. So I need to have another folder. Here I'm going to define all my DTOs. Let's say, what you can say that create product dot DTO dot TS. Or you can say that product DTO dot TS. So I'm going to use, let's rename it to create product. Create product dot create slash product dot DTO dot TS. It's nothing more, it's a class. So I'm going to define the class create product DTO. Make sure you have exported this class. So I need to have 3 properties. It should be read only property. You cannot update, you cannot change that. It means you cannot overwrite the value. So read only property ID, type is string, read only property. We need to have name, type is string, read only property. We need to have QTY, type is number, read only property. We need to have price, type is type is number. Awesome. Now I can use that here. Create product DTO. We need to import it. create product DTO. Cool. Now I'm gonna provide this product here. So inside the product service, I will get the product, and I'm gonna push this product, and it is going to give me the array. Let's try to test that. I'm gonna send the post request. The ID is 1, name is mouse. Awesome, a new product has created. Awesome, another product is also created. We also need to do a little bit refactoring. I'm gonna define the type. It should be product array. So we did not define the product type. So what I'm gonna do here, let's create the interfaces. We need to have product interface. It will give me some type suggestion, product.interface.ts. I'm gonna define the interface. I will have 4 values. ID is string, name is string, and QTY, which is number. Price is also the number. Awesome. So I'm gonna add the type in the product service. It should be array of the product. Product array. Cool. I'm gonna set the empty array. You can also say that the type is product. I'm also going to you can also return the promise here, because when we will work with database, we need to return the promise. So I'm going to return the promise. The type is product array. Cool. So to use the promises, we can use the async await. We have to use the await expression here, or you can return the promise. This product service dot create, it is going to return the product. Now it looks good. So I got the body, and I have converted this method into promise. So now it is returning the promise, because we have used the async method. Async method always returns the promise. We created the product type, and we created the data transfer object. Let's try to test that. So I'm gonna add a new product, because when you will refresh the application, your data will be gone, because we are using the array here in the product service. So it's not a persisted database. Amazing, it looks good. Awesome, I got 2 products. In the next video, I'll teach you how to fetch all the products. Now it's time to implement the find all, find one, and delete endpoint. I'm going to open the product service. Let's define the find all method. It is going to return the array of the products. So we need to define the action in the controller. It should be find or find all. You can do that. I don't need to return the string. We need to return the array. We need to return the promise with product array. And I'm gonna use the async await. I just need to call the method product service dot find all. I'm going to create a new product. A new product is created. Let's try to find all the products. Awesome, I got all the products. So we need to implement the find one. We need to create a method to implement the find one. It is going to return the single product. I also need to get the ID. I'm going to use find method. Let me define my predicate. Returns the value of the first element in the array where the predicate is true. If this condition is true, it is going to return the product. So we already created the endpoint. I need to get the ID here. So I need to return the promise with product. I'm going to use async await. This dot product service dot find one. I can get the ID from the params object. First, we need to create the product. Let's create another product. So we have two products. I would like to find all the products. We have two products. I need to get the product with ID 2. Awesome, I got the product. Let's say I would like to get the product with ID 3. I got that. Now it's time to implement the delete product. I have defined a new method inside the product service, which is delete. It is going to get the ID. It is going to return the array of the product. First of all, I have found the index. I used the supplies method to remove the element from the array. Remove elements from an array. I need to provide the index and how many records you want to delete. I only want to delete the one record. Start number. I provided the index and delete count. And it is going to return the array of the products. Let's define a new method here. This time I need to have delete. It should be delete. So I need to call the delete. It is going to return the array of the products. Cool. I'm going to create a new product. A product is created. So I found the product based on ID. Let's try to delete this product. Array is empty now. It means product is successfully deleted. So we have worked with create, find, and delete. In this section, you are going to learn about the pipes. Pipes are injectable classes which basically runs before the desired method. We have defined a couple of the route handler, let's say inside the product controller. These are all the route handlers. So if you will apply the pipe function or pipe classes will run before this function. If you have applied pipes globally, then it will run before any method. So why do we need pipes? It is mostly used for input transformation. What do I mean by input transformation? Let's say we have defined product. Let me show you the create product DTO. We have defined ID, which is string. If you would like to transform the ID to number, you can create a separate pipe. Nest.js has already created this pipe to parse string to integer. I'll show you how to use that. But there is another use case for pipes. You can use pipes to request data validation. validating post request body as a schema. So Nest comes with these pipes, validation pipes and the parse int pipe. We're going to use the validation pipes here. Let's say we're going to apply pipes. I'm going to show you how it will work. Let's say we defined the type of the ID, which is string. I've applied the pipe here. I got this validation error, bad request 400. Message target, it is saying that ID must be string. What if I will not provide the ID or the name? You will get the validation error. You can see that we have the validation error, target property QTY. Like these constraints are missing. Is string and is not empty. You can also see that name must be string and name should not be empty. So in the previous module, we did not apply the validation. So that is the purpose of this module. To implement validations, first of all, we need to have two packages. We need to install class validator. It is going to validate the request parameters. It's a decorator based validation. And under the hood, they are using the validator.js file. So we need to install class validator. Why we are installing the class validator? Because we're going to use the validation pipe, which is a built-in pipe in Nest.js. Nest.js under the hood using the class validator. I'm going to install class validator. We also need to install another package, class transformer. Validation pipe also uses this class transformer package. It's a property-based transformation. It means you can convert plain JavaScript object to class constructor. Plain JavaScript object starts from this object literal, so you can convert this object into classes. So this is the main purpose of class transformer. They got the JSON object and they are trying to convert into the class. So we need this package, class transformer. Both packages have installed. Class validator provides a couple of the validations, so we need to use that. It's a decorator based validation. If you check the documentation, you can see that class validator, how you can use that is int. This is the way you can use that. Nest.js uses this validate method. Class validator provides this validate method. So I'm gonna use this is not empty. I think we need to import manually. Class validator is not empty. Call string is not empty. I'm telling to Nest.js ID should not be empty, and you can say that the type of the ID which should be string. Similarly, we can apply validation for name. Type should be string and name should not be valid. Name should not be empty. Let's do it for the QTY. QTY is not empty this time. The type should be is int. It has automatically imported here. I'm also going to follow the same process for this one, or you can say that the type of the price should be number. So we have applied the validation, but how can you tell Nest.js please check the types when we send the request to create a new product? we have defined the create DTO product type. So we need to tell that you can manually say that use pipe. You can manually add pipes here, but I would like to use the global filter, global pipe filter. You can register global pipe filter in main.ts file. Use global pipes. You can provide multiple pipes here. I can get this pipe from the Nest.js common method. It's a class. That's why I need to instantiate the object. So we applied the global pipes. When you send the request for any product, something like that, for any DTO, for any product DTO, let's say if I have another controller, manager controller, and we would like to create a new record in manager, we will have this data transfer object. When you send the create request, it is going to check the validation pipe. It will call the validation and it is going to check that. I'll show you how it will work under the hood. So now it's time to test it. Let me run the project. So I'm gonna send the request to test that. Awesome, I got the validation, QTY and the price. ID must be string, but ID should not be empty. Let's try to do that. I'm gonna provide the ID. Let's say I'm gonna provide ID integer. ID must be string. So let's provide the ID in string. We also missing the name property. Let's say that name should be awesome. Everything is good to go now. So we have applied the validation successfully. So this use global pipes, it is used to register the pipes as global pipes and will be used within every HTTP route handler. Now we're gonna dig into deeper. What is inside the validation pipe? So I'm gonna open the node modules. I have imported the validation pipe from the common folder, and you can see the pipes. We have 3 built-in pipes: parse int, parse UUID, and validation pipe. This is the type definition file. Validation pipe will have these properties. We have transform method. This is very important method. Here I will get the value and you will see the metadata. It is returning the promise. So what is inside this validation pipe? Here you can see that we have a class validation pipe. You can provide the options. I did not provide any options from their validation pipe. And here they are loading the class validator package. They have also loaded or imported the class transformer package. When you try to run that, when it will call validation pipe, this transform method will be called, and I will get the value object here. Here you will get the metadata. They are trying to validate. They are trying to convert the plain object literal into the entity. Then they are using the class validator.validate method. You can see that we have the validate method here. We have the validate method. They are using exactly the same validate method. They have provided the post object. That's why we need to convert into the class. That's why we need to convert the class object literal into the class. You can see that this is the instance of the class. This post is the instance of the class. We have the validator options. If errors is greater than 0, if errors length is greater than 0, it is going to return the error. If there is an error, then it is going to return the exception factory. Exception to validate is used to check the type. I know it's hard to understand the source code. What I can do, I'm going to debug the code. Now I'm going to put some breakpoints here. Transform. I have put the breakpoint here. Transform. I'm also going to put breakpoint here to validate. So now it's time to send the request. Let's say I'm not going to provide the ID here. Let's say what will happen. Awesome. It has stopped at this breakpoint. You can check the call stack. You can check the values here from the local. We have metadata object. Metadata has 3 properties: data and the metadata type and the type, which is body. I got the object from the request body. This is our class create product DTO. So I got the class and some metadata. It is going to validate that. I put the breakpoint inside this to validate. I got the metadata and the class. Type is body and I got the class. Now it is going to try to validate or check the types. We have these types: string, array, boolean, numbers, this one. And it is going to match all the types. If everything is good to go, it is trying to get the value. I got the value, which is name, pen, but I did not provide the ID here. It is going to convert the plain object to class. Now this entity is a class because validate method only works with classes. That's why we converted the plain object to class. Aha, here is the magic stuff here. I'll get the error. You can see that validation error. ID. You can check the constraints. ID should not be empty and ID must be string. And it is going to return the exception. And I will get the error. If everything is good to go, let me show you what will happen. Let's say I'm going to provide ID. If everything is good, it is trying to do that. It is going to find the value. Now there is no error. If there is one, if this value is true, this is the false. And now this statement will run object.keys. If it is true, then it is going to execute this statement. Now I got the value. Everything is good to go now. In this section, I'm going to talk about what is middleware. A middleware is a function which is called before the route handler. Let's say we have a /products route. We have a post route /products. If you would like to execute any code before this route handler, you can do that with the help of middleware. You can add logger middleware. You can add authentication logic in that middleware. I'll teach you how to add authentication logic, how to create authentication middleware. So this middleware function can have access to the request object and the response object. It will also have the next middleware function call. I'll teach you how to use this next middleware function. Let's take an example here. We have a client-side code. HTTP request came. Before executing the route handler, this middleware function will run. You can put you can put unlimited number of middlewares here. You can execute 10 middlewares before the route handler. So the main purpose of middleware functions are these. You can execute any code. You can add authentication logic. You can add logging middleware. You can add course middleware. You can add helmet or security type middleware. You can also change this request and the response object. That's a very useful feature. You can end the response cycle by throwing the error. or you can call the next middleware function in this tag. This middleware function will have this tag, and you can call that. You can also, if you will provide the error in any middleware, the next functions will not be executed. Here is a concept. If the current middleware function does not end the request response cycle, it must call the next. Otherwise, the request will be left hanging. So you must need to call the next function. In the next video, I'll show you how to create a middleware in Nest.js. In this video, I'm going to talk about how to create a custom middleware in Nest.js. We're going to create a logger middleware. It is just simply log the message. Go ahead and create a common folder inside the source directory. I'm going to place my common code or shared related code inside the common directory. I will place all my middlewares in the middlewares directory. So you can use the Nest.js CLI. I'm going to open in the terminal. Nest generate. MS stands for middleware. Let's provide the name of the middleware. You can see that the logger middleware has created. It's just a class, injectable class. It's trying to implement this Nest middleware interface, and this interface has use method. This use method will call. You can update this request property here. I need to import request, response in the next function. I'm going to place request here. We need to place response here. We also need to add next function here. Cool. So I'm gonna log the message, console.log logger middleware run. You can choose any message here. So we created the middleware. This next function denotes to the next middleware in the calls tag. If you will not call the next, this request will be not executed successfully. So we created the middleware. Let's say I would like to apply the middleware for before this method. Remember that I told you middleware function runs before this route handler. So you can add some authentication logic here, stuff like that. We will create authentication middleware in the later modules. For now, how can you apply the middleware here? Okay, now I'm going to apply the middleware. They say you have to have a configure method inside your app module, and this configure method will take a consumer. Middleware consumer. This middleware consumer provides method to call the middleware. So I'm going to use consumer. We have to call the apply method. Here I'm going to provide my logger middleware. Let's say I would like to apply the middleware for all the route handlers inside the product controller. So I'm going to run my code. Let's try to test that. My application is running. Let's try to send the post request. A new product has created, and now you can see the message logger middleware run. Let's try to send the get request. You can see the logger middleware run. You can also apply middleware in this way. Let's say you can apply for the specific route. Path should be products. And you can define method. I can get the request method. Request method dot get. Cool. Now it will run this middleware for only this method, for find one and the find all. Let's try to create a new product, I have sent the post request. You can see that there is no middleware run log here. I'm going to find all the products. Now you can see the log and middleware run. There is another way to do that. You can also exclude some path. Let's say that. Let's say I don't want to run the middleware for this method. Now I want to run the middleware for all of the methods except this one, request method.get. Now it will not run for the get endpoint. Let's try to test that. You will not see the message. For the post and update and delete, you will see that. You will see the logger middleware run. We have talked about some local level middleware. You can also register some global middleware. If you have to register global middleware, you can do it here. You can register global middleware here. You have to use the app.use method. Let's say you will have global middleware for the course. You can register Helmet, whatever middleware you will have. Let's say I have a Morgan or Multer. You can register multiple middlewares. I'll teach you more about how to register global middleware in the later modules.